Now let's understand about implicit type conversion. So what is implicit type conversion? Okay, so earlier we knew that when we took two strings and tried to do a string concatenation, so we were doing in this fashion, right? First name plus space plus last name. This is string concatenation, and when we log it we get the value that Sanat Sahu. Okay, this is the string first name I added with the last name, so it became string concatenation happened, so I got this. And with number we perform the numerical or mathematical calculation like plus minus multiplication division, everything we calculated. Now imagine if we do a mathematical calculation or mathematical operation on a string value, what would be the result? So let's because in real life scenario these things will happen in while you are building the website. So these things will happen when you are handling data, right? You get the data from the API and then you try to manipulate the data or try to do something with the data, right? So these you might never know that whether it's a string data or a number data, you don't know, right? So when you do the operation it doesn't work, then only you will know, right? So let's try to do something like let's have a number 3, for example. If I'm having 4, sorry, let me have it 2. Okay, then const string 1. Okay, let it be my name. Okay, let me do it Sanat. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I will subtract num3 from str1. So I'll tell the result equals to str1 minus num3. Okay, now what will be the result? So if we log this, let's see if we log, if we log it, we will see what would be the result. Now when I log it, what I get? So you get an odd number. Why not a number? Because the JavaScript engine doesn't know. JavaScript doesn't know that what you are trying to do. So it understands that this is a string and this is a number. You are trying to subtract a string, a number from a string. So it doesn't understand that the result is not a number. Okay. So next, suppose we'll modify this a bit. So let's create another uh, string. Let me create a string, but I will have a number inside it. Okay, I'll have two. It's a string. It's a number inside a string, means it's a string, right? I will create one more string as a str3 of 3. Okay, that two also a string. Okay, now let me subtract. Do the same operation now. I'll do mathematical operation again. So I will do a log directly. What I'll do is I'll subtract 3 from 2. str2 minus str3. What would be the result? So when I save it, get -1 over here, right? Here we simply subtracted num3 from str1. That means a number from a string, so it did not understood, and result was not a number. But here we are subtracting two strings. Okay, we are not concatenating, we are not using plus, so we are not concatenating, we are subtracting. So JavaScript understand that, okay, you are trying to subtract two string, but the string contains number value. So implicitly, internally, it converts that string to a number and does the operation. If I do a plus, it will not, the result will be different. Since I am subtracting it, it understands that you are trying to subtract two string values, but the content of those strings are numbers, so it allows you to do this subtraction. Okay, and the result will be different for a concatenation if we are doing a addition. But then let me show you when we do a division what happens. When I do a division over here, you get the value of 0.66. Okay, that's the correct value. If I get if I do a modulus of that, what is the reminder? I'll get 2. Okay, so that is a correct value. Okay, but when I do a plus, what happens? Let's see. When I do a plus, what happens? It gives 2 3. Okay, 2 3 instead of adding to this value 2 plus 3 should be 5, but we get 23. Why we get 23? Because JavaScript now thinks that you are doing a concatenation, string concatenation. Just it will have 3 next to 2. Okay, simple that. Like how we had Sanat and Sahu, right? So Sanat plus space plus Sahu, right? Here, so 2 without any space, because I'm not giving any space, 2 and 3. So if I give a space over here, you see, if I give a space over here, what happens? It will be clear now. When I give a space, I save it, I get 2 comma 2 space 3, right? That means it is doing a string concatenation. It is not adding. So that is how implicit type conversion works. Okay, and this is true even if one of the value is a string. Like suppose I remove this string value over here, so I make it as a number. Okay, now when I save over here, so only string is now str3, which has a string of 3. Okay, here this is the only string, but this is has now converted to a number. Okay, so now when I do a concatenation, what happens is that, you see, so I get same 2 3. Okay, there is no difference. That means even if one of them is a string, if even if one of them is a string, it does a string concatenation. Now if I do a, so in this case, if I do a any other operation, like I am doing a one of them is a number, one of them is a string. Let's see what happens. So when I do a subtraction here, if I do subtraction, I get -1. Now implicit type conversion worked here, right? So the JavaScript is converting these three to a number, and then it is doing so. Whenever there is a mathematical operation over here, so JavaScript, what it does is checks whether it's a number kind of value or not. Okay, so it does a implicit conversion and try to do it. Okay, even if it is one string value, if we do a concatenation, it will be if we add a plus sign here, it will do a concatenation. Okay, for mathematical operation, it implicitly converts to a number and then it does it. Okay, so but ideally there is no control over these values over here, right? So suppose I'm having this string values over here. Suppose I'm having these number values over here, right? So let me remove these codes. I'm having 2 and 3, right? So I can when I subtract, I should get a when I subtract, I should get a -1 over here, right? But 100 lines later, if I, you see, I'm having 100 lines, and in 100 lines later, I suppose I get I convert the str3 to a string value, like something like 12. Okay, so it is the possibility is there, because there are a lot of HTML elements which, when we enter some values, like our input box is there. So whenever if the type of is text, so whenever you are using input box, you have to write the type as number to enter number values. If you forget that, if you write type as text, you typing number, but the value that will be stored over there is, or be taken through the input, will be a string, right? So instead and from the API also, a response also, if you, instead of getting numbers, if you get string values with number, then the problem is that whenever you do, now when I am having str3, okay, then when I save it, I get another number here, right? So that error happens, right? So to show you that these are all in the real life scenario, it happens in the real time projects, it happens in the real life. Whenever we are coding, we have to remember that this problem happens. So avoid that. I let me showcase you. So I have just written some code over here, where I'm I just have a label over here, an input box of like I said, type should be it is, the type is number over here. Still the problem happens, right? So this is the, you see the type, I've added an input as a type number, till the problem will happen. So here, if you see, I'm having just a dummy number 12, and I'm trying to add the values over sum of two values. I'm adding this value 12 to the value that will be entering into the number. So you forget about what I've written over here, but understand that I will enter some value over here, and I will add this 12 digit, that is the dummy number, to it, right? So and you will see the result. So let me save this first, and let me save over here. So let me save over here. If I save these, and when I suppose there is, so there is 12, the number is 12. So when I give 20 over here, when I submit, then it should add, right? So what I get instead of okay, let me remove this. Let me comment this out. Okay, let me comment, then it will be clearer to us. So let me comment everything over here, and let me do a save again. Okay, now when I do 20 over here, when I enter 20 over here, when I submit it, what I get sum of two values, 12 20, right? That means it is not adding. So I added, so even though I have given here input type as number, still when I'm trying to add 12 to the value that you have given over here, that is, I'm adding 12 to the number, 12 to the value that you have entered, that is 20 here, it should display 30 over here, sorry, 32, right? 12 plus 20 should be 32, but instead it is displaying 12 to 12 20. That means it is doing a string concatenation. So here it is happening, string concatenation is happening, because here the value is 12, right? It's absolutely clear that it's a number kind of value. Okay, but the value that we are giving over here, it's not a number, it's a string. So you remember that what I said just a few minutes earlier, that even if one of the values is a string, if you add to it to a number, then JavaScript will consider it as a string concatenation, and it is string concatenation happening over here, right? Now to avoid that, what you have to do, we have to parse it, right? We have to parse this value that we are entering into a number. So for that, you have to use parse int method, inbuilt method, JavaScript method, to convert the value that you are entering over here to a number. Now when I uncomment this and when I save it, and when I give the value, same value, if I give 20 over here and I click on submit, what happens is that I get 32. That means I'm converting the string value over here to a number kind of a value. And now JavaScript, when we add two numbers, it does a mathematical operation, that is the addition operation it does, and not a string concatenation, right? So you have to remember this. So the implicit type conversion will happen when there is a mathematical operation, that is a minus, mode, or division. But when you do a plus, even if one of them is a string, it will do a string concatenation. Okay, so that's about implicit type conversion. Hope you like this video. So let's move to the next video.